Hello everyone, welcome to our mat yoga class at the Prescott Library. We're doing a bit of a different class today, and I'm going to focus in on our SI joints. I've had a lot of clients coming in saying, kind of presenting with the same issues. I'm also finding in myself I have some SI joint issues, and I'm not telling you to diagnose yourself. This was chiropractically that I found out that I've got this issue. And it alleviated kind of a lot of other stuff like, why does my leg hurt all the time, or why does my back hurt all the time? Your SI joint is kind of it's an odd looking joint comparison to like a ball joint where our shoulders and hips are a ball. Our sacrum is kind of in that's our tailbone, kind of has a shape like a V, and then our hips kind of wrap around, so we're kind of sitting like that. If you run your hands right down the middle of your glutes, that's where your SI joint is. And some people might find, ooh, one side's really tender and the other side's not. That's about where your SI joint is, just so you have an idea. So today we'll do a few strengthening exercises, kind of PT based, so this is not a standard yoga class that way. So we're doing a little exercise that we don't normally do, but then adding in some yin yoga. And I teach my classes very yin style anyway, so it's very slow, very methodical, but we are staying on our floor, on the floor the whole time versus an up and down kind of a class. So if you notice, I'm actually starting on my knees. If you have SI joint stuff going on, or just maybe a low back stuff, maybe sitting in that easy lotus pose is not ideal for you, and you just feel a lot of pressure in your low back. This is a great way to switch it out. Yoga breaks also, so if you're thinking you're going to be sitting for a while, you can prop yourself up, and that gives you some extra space, especially if sitting on your ankles and knees is not feeling good in your body. So just take a few gentle breaths in, find your starting point, and just gently opening up and relaxing down, and reaching up and coming down. We're just opening up our upper body a little bit and bringing some breath into our movement, and exhale, opening up your chest and coming back. So this class will be a little bit different. Don't usually do a lot of extra chatty stuff in this, but I'll kind of just give you a little bit of my personal experience with SI stuff. Mine can be from 1,000 things. I love to garden, and I think my main problem started probably about a year ago when I decided to mulch like a crazy person. I don't know if anybody else has ever done that. And I really felt my low back really just went out. It took a couple of days and numerous chiropractic visits. And gently twist. And I thought I was good, and it just kind of progressively just stayed not good. So with extra chiropractic work, a lot of icing, I did a lot of research on what are good exercises to help relax that SI joint. It's usually a strain, not necessarily a sprain. I don't quite know the difference. It's kind of not my expertise. And coming up and dropping in. We're doing a lot of lower body stuff overall, so I just want to make sure upper body has some movement. And you can kind of wiggle around. If you decide you want to add some bricks, go for it. If you want to take a brick away, I'm too high. But you can rotate them that way too. And just relaxing down. And gentle breath in, bring your shoulders back and down, rotating your head so your ear on the right side is meeting your shoulder. You can do this beginning part in a chair if that's more comfortable for you, and then move to the floor. I just wanted to give our bodies a little less up and down with the chair, especially since we're focusing on our SI joint. Just keeping the movement smaller and more gentle. And coming up over towards the right. Just letting your body open up. And coming up. And resting down. And again, dropping in, and notice just whatever's feeling sticky. Rotate in, kind of glancing down more towards your elbow. And coming up. And rotating over and twisting down. Gently coming up, give your shoulders a little roll, and take your bricks out. We're going to keep these handy and see what you think from there. So this is my right side, so my right hip is, my right SI joint is where I feel activated, so I'm actually going to use that one first. We'll do our exercises. Now, if you're thinking your floor is not padded enough, grab a blanket, grab a pillow, and just prop yourself up just enough so that some of that pressure is off. So we're laying on our side, and you might find that this is not comfortable. Just kind of really have to play around. But focusing in, bring your tummy in, and you're doing a small leg lift. Now the goal would be to do 10 on each side and rotate it so you do a total of 30. We're just doing some small basic stuff so you can go back and do it again. But this gentle leg lift will help strengthen your glutes and making sure your tummy is engaged because you're actually doing a lot of tummy work. So I'm going to do a lot of tummy focus. Want to keep us strong. So you can see I'm not doing really huge movements, but I know I can feel them. If you get to a point where you're feeling like a rock star and you're feeling really good, you can add a hand weight down and bring it up, and you can practice that way. So I'll kind of visualize, but basically just holding a hand weight to your knee, and it could be just 1 pound up to 5 pounds. I wouldn't do too much, especially if you are having SI issues. That really will help create bigger problems if your body is not ready. So I would really stick with very minimal movements. So we're going to keep going because I've chatted through quite a few, right? And that should be probably close to 30. So you should feel kind of warm. We're not doing any huge leg lifts. We're just keeping it really small because a leg lift actually takes us into being more thigh work, and keeping it really small really works at SI joint. So we're going to come up, play with this. Again, remember, I'm not going to use it on my left side. So rotating over. So now, because I happen to be having some issues with my SI, this is not feeling phenomenal. I can really feel the muscles working. So remember, play with it. If you've got no issues, but you still want to do these exercises, you can always just remember, add that hand weight. these small movements, you probably feel, if you're just holding on to your glutes a little bit, you can feel those muscles moving. You just have a few more to go. That should be probably close to 30 if you don't feel, if you've been counting. I didn't. You can just add a few more in if you want to. Just making sure that each side gets the same movement. And the easier, the smaller it is, the better. So coming onto your back, this one you can use a mat or a little something underneath if you need it. But pressing in, we're doing a small bridge. So press your heels in. So I kind of lift my toes up more for dramatic purposes. But lifting up, it really helps with your low back. And just dropping in. And this one for me is a little bit of an easier one. So if you wanted to, you can grab in. This is where those hand weights can come in handy, and just drop them on your pelvis. And resting down. So those are just a 1-pounder. Just do another one, holding in. This works the glutes really well, because who doesn't want extra glute work, right? And resting down. Walk your feet to the width of your mat, just kind of center yourself a little bit, and letting your knees drop in together. Anytime with SI, this is probably your favorite pose. It's mine. Dropping in, because then it helps relax the back side of your hips. So just finding that, find where it's comfortable. So when we do the rest of our standard yoga practice, this is just probably the best thing you can just, if you're tired of doing one thing, drop back into this one. And when you're ready, roll over to one side. And coming up, we are going to use our pillow if you want to, remember, or I'm going to use my blanket. So I'm going to switch sides. You want your pelvis supported during this, so just dropping in, way up on your heels. And bring you a bend in your heel, bend in your knee. Put your favorite beverage on your foot, and just doing a small lift. And you can see I am not making any huge movements. That was certainly not the goal. We're just warming up these muscles, getting some strength back in them. And even for people that have kind of weaker glute muscles, this is pretty good. And resting down. Slowly resting down, little side to side shimmy. If you notice one side's a little bit tighter than the other doing this, you can always change your pillow or blanket underneath you. I do like the leg lift with a little support under my pelvis. I feel like I can get movement without really working working that hard. If you're flat on the floor, there's just, you have to work really hard to lift your leg up, and you want to really keep your pelvis straight. And we'll take one more on the other side. Press down. Pressing yourself up onto your knees, and you can use your blanket again. This next part, I actually like to rest using a yoga brick. So we're coming into a child's pose, but our child's pose, instead of normally going really wide in our knees, it's kind of the same thing we talked about earlier. If we kind of have the knees really wide, it puts a lot of strain on that back side of our hips, and if they're achy, it's really not going to help you out. So I tend to keep my knees right underneath my hips, and bringing the yoga brick in, just dropping in. Now these poses we're going to hold for a while, so if you need to shift in once you start relaxing, that is more than okay. My head is actually taking more of the weight on the brick. If you don't have a brick, kind of experiment with your hands or use your blanket. I just happen to like this. And play with your arms. I'm kind of slowly stretching them out when my body gets warmer. And just enjoy those big breaths in and out. And I tend to shimmy just a little bit as the body starts opening up and deepening the stretch more. A traditional yin yoga class has about 7 poses, but each pose is held about 7 minutes. So if you're wondering why we're hanging out longer than our standard class, I just want you able to get some of the deeper stuff. And if you're noticing that something is not the best, come out and stretch up a little bit. Kind of play a little bit, experimenting with what the depth is you need. Or you can even rest your yoga mat a little bit higher, or your brick higher. take a few more deep breaths in and out, kind of lengthening your back a little bit. When you're ready, just slowly come up. And we're going to stretch forward. Little side to side rock. So coming into our, it's called Sphinx pose in Yin Yoga. So just having your hands together, pressing up. Now the goal on this is to make sure that your glutes are relaxed. You don't want your glutes to really be working hard. This is just a nice way to open up. And find a comfortable spot for your neck. For me, looking up is not feeling so good by any means. Kind of look a little bit down and forward. You can widen your feet a little bit more if you need to, if it feels better in your body. Just focus in, because I keep rotating and all of a sudden find that I've really got my glutes working, and you want to keep them a little bit more relaxed. It'll help open a lot of our low back up. I think a lot of us spend so much time at our desks these days too that we don't spend a lot of time kind of creating a gentle back bend. Personally, I have a little bit of a harder struggle to just relax my shoulders. So you can widen your elbows a little bit. I just noticed my shoulders were really more tense than I wanted them to be. So you might find that you need to rotate during yin, and I do that a lot. And drop your shoulders down a little bit. From here, press your hands out a little bit wider, and you can always go back to the starting point of the Sphinx. We'll come up a little bit, and this is the tricky one too, really keeping your glutes relaxed. And if you need to widen your feet a little bit, if that helps. Or widen your hands. And I notice that if I have my glutes activated, it really throws off my pelvis and my low back. And remember, keep modifying. a little bit more space, you want to go a little bit higher, you can. But notice where it feels in your back, how your glutes are working. If you're thinking that's not it, stay down lower. When you feel ready, just slowly come down. You can come back into your Sphinx pose, and then just let your body relax again. And we'll gently roll onto our backs. And bring your feet to the width of the mat like we did earlier. And just letting your knees touch in. I'm trying to center myself on my mat here. Letting your knees drop in. This is probably one of my favorite poses. It's great for Shavasana. Just letting your body relax open. We aren't doing Shavasana, we're just giving ourselves a little bit of a resting break. And just slowly walk your feet together. Your knees in one at a time. Just do some gentle rocking. Now, one part that you'll notice you can either hold one leg up as we do this. So we'll start just holding one leg, giving your body some memory space. And you can always hold, grab like a tie or something and hold it just underneath your leg. Keeping our opposite knee bent just to make sure there's little strain. If we go all the way down, that'll put a deeper strain on our SI joint, and we certainly, we don't want that. We want to keep it keep it easy. Letting that joint really open up and relax. Slowly relaxing your right leg down, left leg up, doing the same. Focus in on your body and notice maybe if you have a few spots that are tighter than others, or spots that you don't notice that are normally tight. And that sometimes when you do relaxation of one specific area, you'll find other areas that you didn't know were sticky. Because I'm noticing here that my pelvis is really getting nice and relaxed, and it's showing me spots on my back because we didn't do a lot of back stuff today. And just gently take a few breaths in. And slowly drop your knee down. Bring your feet wide, letting your knees drop in. You notice that your low back has got a little bit more space. I hope so. And gently coming in. Bring your right leg over your left. Now this one, if you have a yoga strap, is maybe a little bit more handy. For me, this is a little bit trickier, especially if my hips are not feeling really great. So you can hold in underneath your knee, but for me it's easier to probably hold a little bit more on top, making sure my legs stay straight versus, kind of twisting, because then that adds some stress in my low back. Focus in on how much you need to bring your knee in, or if you need to rest it out a little bit. For me, having it drop out is feeling far more comfortable. They call this reclining shoelace. So we've done Sphinx, seal pose, and reclining shoelace. And then just slowly dropping down. Give your body a little bit of space. You can do a little windshield washer fluid, just like windshield wipers, just opening up your back, giving it some more space. I'm not making huge movements. Yeah, crossing your left leg over. And you might notice where one leg is, my right hip is the one that's got more challenges. My left hip then is so tight because it's always overcompensating for the right side. So if you notice some things like that in yourself, really play with it. So this would be handy if I had a yoga strap with me, but I actually did not grab one. I'm just going to grab into my knee. So I'm actually going to drop my leg down just for a moment. And just slowly resting down. I came out of that one a bit earlier, just because. So just dropping your knees in a little bit closer together, feet wider. And slowly bring your knees both together. Now, normally we would do like a happy baby, but I'm just going to gently let my knees drop a little bit without grabbing into my heels, because normally you'd grab your heels and toes. And grabbing into that, if you've got any SI issues, probably not going to be your favorite. So just by opening up, you can grab underneath your knees if that feels a bit more comfortable for you. So just notice how your hips kind of relax further into the mat. We'll take a few more big breaths in and out. Just slowly bring your knees together and drop down one at a time. Bring your hands out to the side and move your hips over just a tad to the left and rotating your knees over towards your right. You can have your head relaxed up or glancing over towards your left. gently bring your legs up. Bring your hips back to your center spot. Few gentle breaths. You can do a little bit of a windshield wiper with your knees. And then bring your hips over towards the right just a little bit. And then dropping your knees in towards your left, gazing towards the right. Just taking those gentle breaths in, really letting your body relax in. Just take those big breaths as they come. When you're ready, just slowly bring your knees up. Bring your body back in towards center. Knees together, letting your hips just drop back in. Just take a nice big breath. Stretch your hands up overhead. And then just gently come, slowly rotating over towards your side and pressing up. We'll come back onto our knees. Just to alleviate, we did a lot of work in that low back area, so really opening it up. Nice big breath in and twist. And up. And twisting. And just take some more gentle movements. And bring your hands all the way up. Namaste.